Am I just fooling myself that she'll stop the pain? Living without her, I go insane.
Hey guys, KiwiSylveon, and welcome back to Seduce Me to the Demon War. First, I have to say I have never seen Sam so fucking pissed off except in his route. Because apparently Diana fucked over Damien. Yeah, and not only is Damien pissed, the main character's pissed, the brothers are pissed, the wives are going to be pissed because the brothers are pissed, and now Sam's about to rail into Diana for a very good reason. Thank you, husbando Sam.
That's enough, Sam.
No, it's not enough, Erik. Go away. Erik, seemingly the only sensible one of the group of incubi, grabbed onto Sam's shoulder and pulled him away from Diana. Sam gave in, stared glaring at the succubus before sitting down beside his wife on the bench. I, however, became torn. What was going to happen now? Damien was a demon again and was getting his powers back. Yet Damien didn't want his powers back at all, even at the risk of becoming the odd brother out. This entire situation became a conglomerate mess of uncertainty and confusion that I had to lower my head and close my eyes for a moment. Diana wiped her eyes, letting out a small sigh before she glanced around the room.
I will do what I can to fix this issue. For now, however, you can correctly assume that the 5 of you are all demons and can fight with your incubus abilities.
With a cold glare, Diana locked eyes with Sam. As she spoke, Cero, who had only just entered the room, stepped behind Diana to add to her intimidation.
And if any of you dare step up to me and threaten me again, you will not live to see the final battle.
Oh, shit. Well, Sam's kinda gonna beat your ass in. I'm actually kinda happy that she dies in the canon route. I'm actually happy. Because she's a bitch. I mean, I love her, but she's a bitch. Sam moved to stand, sudden anger flashing through his expression, before Carrie grabbed a hold of his arm and pulled him back down to sit beside her. Way to go. Chain your man. But he's still mine. Back off, Carrie. Diana closed her eyes and took a deep breath before crossing her arms to regain her professional composure. Yay! The air was filled with anxious irritation, but we had to let it go for now. We would hash everything out at a later time, but for now we had to focus on what was going to bring me and Damien home. Yay! What would the others teach me? Now, Gina is trained by Rabbit! Let's see. Violet got trained by Sergeant. Heidi got trained by Diana herself, so... Allie got trained by Shadow. Jenna got trained by Faye. And... I'm going to go with Rabbit. Diana nodded. Rabbit was sweet, but I could tell that she was the wisest of the bunch. Stab at Diana, because she's not very smart. She'd be able to show me some of the ways to use the earth and defend myself. She was definitely the one. Yay.
Finish eating. Afterwards, you should...
Well, it looks like we'll be busy for the next couple of days.
This'll be fun.
Yay!
Man, training's gonna suck.
Yes, husbando Sam.
It'll be worth it, though.
Damien's right.
I was excited to see what Rabbit could teach me. She apparently knew a lot about magic, so maybe this would be able to help me defend myself better and help win this war. Still, the excitement of the situation was hard to ignore. What would Rabbit teach me? Would it be something to do with nature? With fire? With animals? There were hundreds of things that could have been a possibility, and I was eager to eventually find out and know. I was guided to a large hall originally blocked off for Cero and Diana's training. However, because my safety became priority, Rabbit and I were given the room to train in and practice. That was awfully nice. She's still a bitch, but that was awfully nice. As I peered into the space, I saw Rabbit face me and smile.
There you are. Come on in.
Yay! I smiled, happy to know how patient and kind she was, or at least presented herself to be. I stepped into the room and walked towards her, taking in the space and how large it was. Nice room.
Isn't it? It's perfect for what I have in mind to teach you.
There it was. My eagerness began to bounce in my chest as I grinned at Rabbit, excited. What do you plan to teach me? Rabbit giggled at me, which made me tilt my head in confusion. Was what I said funny?
I plan to teach you how to properly defend yourself. To do that, I need to see what you can do with your spirit.
I nodded and stood at attention, ready for my first lesson. Rabbit nodded back to me before stepping back and pointing her staff at the ground between us. The orb on her staff began to glow a bright blue color as a large wisp snaked out of it into the air. I watched in awe as it took shape from being a simple cloud of magical smoke to being a large blue misty bear. Hi. A rabbit bear. Good to know. Whoa! I instantly jumped back, surprised at the roar it let loose in intimidation. Rabbit brought her staff back to her side as the bear got on all four of its paws, growling in my direction.
This is an animal guardian, a personification of your inner strength and power. Once summoned, it will protect you with their life.
I stared at the bear before me, watching it peer into my soul with its pure white eyes and pant in anger. Rabbit had a bear hiding inside of her? That was shocking to say the least. As true as it was, I imagined her to have a rabbit spirit. Rabbit placed her head on her chest and nodded to me.
Focus on your spirit. Feel it try to take shape and release it.
I looked down at my chest before closing my eyes and laying my hand over my heart. I had to focus on my spirit. It was strange to imagine doing so, but I attempted it anyway. As I stood there, I could feel energy flow within my body, ebbing and weaving through my veins like bloodstream. It was incredibly odd to feel such sensations, but I continued to focus on my soul, trying to do as Rabbit asked. At last, I latched on to a strange feeling in my chest, growing larger and larger with each breath I took. Soon it became unbearable to keep inside. I held my hand out, feeling it want to be released, and watched a sock as a white and lavender mist jutted out from my palm and landed on the floor, revealing... Oh god, I wish there was like... a lion. Yes. That's as close to a tiger as I can get. I stared wide-eyed as the mist formed into a grand lion who seemed to be as big as the bear, if not bigger. How the hell did that happen? Despite its form being gaseous and ethereal, the fur that covered its body was glimmering in lavender, while its claws, bare teeth, and majestic mane and eyes were pure white compared to the bluish white of the bear. It let a large roar in reply at the sight of the bear, standing proudly and ready to attack on my command. The rabbit seemed surprised as well, gripping herself in instinctual fear before inhaling deeply and taking in the sight of my animal guardian.
Very good. Your spirit is strong.
I smiled, happy to know that the size signified my power. I was shocked that I was able to match Rabbit's guardian, but the thought went away as Rabbit pointed her staff at me.
Attack!
Upon her command, the bear reared back on its hind legs and let out a large roar before charging at my guardian. I quickly followed suit. Go! My guardian squatted on its four limbs before pouncing off the ground and charging forward as well. Both animals rammed their heads together and pressed against each other before the bear took a swipe at my guardian, forcing it to the side. I didn't expect to be affected by it. Feeling pain hit my chest hard internally. What the hell happened? Did the attack on my guardian actually affect me? I didn't get time to think on it, however. I became open as the bear continued to rush forward, naming me as its target. Before it could reach me, however, my guardian leapt through the air and swiped his claws back at the bear's neck, causing it to fall to the side. I watched in disbelief as my guardian took the bear down, grab it its neck in its teeth and shaking violently, causing the bear to release out a roar of pain. Rabbit, on the other hand, gripped her neck and let a yelp of pain. Rabbit! I couldn't say any more before my lion became a victim of one of the bear's claw slamming into its body, forcing it off with a whine. I felt a deep jab in my shoulder at the same spot where the lion was hit, causing me to grip my arm and rub over the pain. The bear got up onto its feet, as did my guardian, and they snarled at each other, circling one another to wind up with the bear back in front of Rabbit and my guardian in front of me. I was astonished at the event, straightening up and taking in what had happened. Rabbit let out a pained smile before tapping her staff beside her.
Heel.
The bear, who was growling before, stopped and simply kept a cold eye on my guardian, who remaining in place as Rabbit stepped up beside it.
This is the power of an animal guardian. They obey and protect, but they are still connected to our spirit. What pain they feel, we feel as well.
I grimaced, calling for my guardian to stand out as well. While it seemed really cool and effective for protection, if the animal guardian became mortally wounded, the same would happen to me, or so I assumed. Rabbit lifted her hand and rested it on the bear, showing that the guardian had physical weight, and patted over its fur.
However, we can only feel its pain. We do not bleed or die if our guardians are attacked and killed.
That's a bit of a relief. Rabbit rubbed her neck and smiled at me.
I will say, your guardian is quite strong for having never been summoned before.
Thank you. I felt flattered that my spirit was able to impress Rabbit. I guess that was a plus toward this training. Rabbit rocked forward and held her hand out to my guardian, who seemed wary at first. Hey, let her. I didn't know why I was speaking to it casually, but something felt right about it. The animal was essentially a part of me, and I could feel that it understood me regardless of what I said. The guardian calmed down and leaned its head toward Rabbit, who placed her hand on its head and ran her fingers along its fur.
Truly magnificent! I had only ever seen another guardian this large once before.
I smirked, looking to the bear. Your own, right? Rabbit shook her head and looked to me, stopping her gesture and my animal.
No, from, Diana.
I had to stop myself from dropping my jaw. Diana was able to do this? Then again, I didn't think this kind of magic was limited to just me and Rabbit. Was any magic truly bound to one and only demon type? Rabbit acknowledged my facial expression with a slight smile.
She has a very powerful guardian. I'm surprised she doesn't use it.
That's because I don't need to.
Hi, Diana! Rabbit and I turned our heads to see Diana by the doorway, smiling at both of us. As she walked in, she observed our animals and nodded, visually impressed.
I assume everything is going well?
Great, actually. Look at the size of her animal guardian.
Diana walked over and sized up my animal with her eyes, nodding in agreement with Rabbit's excitement.
Quite impressive. I expect good things to come from this training.
What's your animal guardian, Diana? Diana looked over at me in slight surprise before smirking a bit and bringing 2 fingers near her head. As she swung them and pointed to the wall, a purple mist flew from her fingers and spiraled into the air before landing and slowly forming a purple and black panther. It snarled as it took shape and swung its gaze over the room and its inhabitants. I was in awe at the size. It was larger than Rabbit's bear, which made me wonder just how powerful Diana was. Diana walked over and ran her hands over its head, running her thumb over the bridge of its nose with a soft chuckle.
A panther guardian and a snake familiar. How odd am I?
Huh? A snake familiar? I grew confused at what Diana meant, but she simply smiled at me.
You don't wish for me to show you what I mean, dear. I promise you that.
I pressed my lips together, having been denied a chance to see something new. However, if Diana put it as a threat, I had to be cautious. After all, her spirit was visually larger than mine by the size of our guardians. As I looked to Rabbit, I was surprised to see a form of awe and envy in her eyes as she looked at Diana's animal. I guess this was why Diana was the leader of the rebellion, but why was Rabbit envious? Diana wheeled her guardian away, causing it to fade into the air like a cloud of smoke before turning back to me.
Well, if you don't mind, I must get back to work. There is a lot that needs to be done, and we have little time to do it.
Diana nodded to us both before turning to leave. However, Rabbit stepped forward.
Diana. May I speak to you in private later, after I have finished training her for the day?
I naturally furrowed my eyebrows. What was she wanting to talk about with Diana? Diana seemed confused as well, looking back to Rabbit but nodding nonetheless.
Of course. I'll come here when you are finished.
Thank you.
Diana gave me one more nod before turning back around and leaving the room. I looked at Rabbit, curious as to what they had to talk about, but if it was important to speak in private, then it was a matter I should keep my nose out of. Rabbit shook her head and smiled at me.
Well now, where were we?
I rolled my shoulders and looked to our two animal guardians, seeing them resting on the ground, patiently waiting for us. Were these really only used for battle? I looked back to Rabbit, curious to know the answer. Hey, Rabbit?
What is it?
Are these guardians only meant for battle and defense? Rabbit shook her head and walked over to her bear, petting it softly and making a low but happy grumble escape from it.
Think of these creatures as friends, whom we wish to protect us. A rabbit demon such as myself would benefit greatly from a bear companion.
Both the bear and Rabbit looked at me, hoping I would understand. I looked at my own animal, confused as to why I was able to imagine what mine looked like. The intricacies of this magic seemed over my head, but I accepted it for now with a slight understanding. Until the night, we trained furiously, using our animal guardians to show me how to use them, what commands to say, and how to conserve my energy. By the time I left, however, I was exhausted. I channeled my energy forward through the hall, wanting so much to go back to the room, flop onto the bed, and sleep. However, something in my gut stopped me from moving as I approached my bedroom door. Huh? Something felt wrong. Whether it was something in the air or my natural instincts screaming at me, something was throwing me off and I couldn't pin down why. As a pain groan escaped the room, my suspicions were confirmed. I peeked into the bedroom to see Damien curled up in bed, gripping his head and pressing his knees into his chest. Damien! I rushed over and knelt by the bed, now insanely worried. What was happening with him? As I got close, however, Damien jutted his hand out, facing his palm to me in tense position.
Stop! Don't!
I froze in place. His face was contorted into one extreme pain, gritting his teeth and crushing his eyebrows together in a tight expression of agony. I couldn't tell what was going on, but whatever it was torturing him. Damien violently shook his head, digging his fingers further into his head.
Please, just stop!
Stop doing anything. I let every part of my body become still. My thoughts, my limbs, everything apart from breathing and blinking. If Damien was hearing thoughts again, then he was probably getting bombarded with a castle's worth of them, and I need to make sure I wasn't added to that pressure. Damien opened-eyed to me, glazed over in tears, and smiled ever so slightly, knowing exactly what I was doing.
Thank you.
I let my emotions rumble in my chest as I nodded with a smile. I understood him perfectly. After all, I was going to be his wife. However, a full minute passed and nothing had changed. I began to instinctively worry, but I forced the feeling into my chest and continued to let my head remain empty of thought. Damien attempted to take deep breaths, trying to calm down further, but to no avail. I became even more worried than before. What was I supposed to do?
Libera mente tua.
The sound of Diana's voice echoed through the room. forcing me to turn around and look at her as she stood in the doorway. She stared hard at Damien, holding a hand out to him. Her finger and palm began to glow dark purple color, like flame dancing over her skin. Holy shit, Damien has bones. Damien slowly rolled onto his knees on the bed, still gripping his head and growling to himself as Diane slowly approached him, holding her hand close to his and tilting to his forward tilted head.
Libera mente tua!
The flames around Diane's hand sparked, intensifying in its glow as Damien winced and hissed out from a sting of pain. I continued to remain still, not wanting to add to the pressure in Damien's head, but confused as to what Diana was doing. Very slowly, Damien's head began to glow the same purple color before a stream of purple energy began to trickle from him towards Diana's hand. As it connected, the energy around Damien's head began to fade at last, and Damien's tense form began to relax. And he's skinny. Diana tensed her hand and caused the flame around her skin to wrap it round itself, forming an orb above her palm as she turned it towards her. As it settled into a physical purple ball, she grasped it and let it shatter in her hand. Glass and blood began to trickle from a close grip as Damien finally released a breath of air, slamming his hands down onto the mattress beneath him and curling himself further over his knees. Damien? I instinctively reached over and placed my hand on his arms, feeling the cold sweat running down them from the struggle he was fighting against earlier. He was paler than before, but his face slowly melted into an expression of calm relief. I looked at Diana, seeing her lift her hand to her mouth and lick over her new wounds. Blood trickled down her arm, but she managed to catch most of it with her tongue, unfazed by Damien's sudden relaxation or my stare. What did you do? Diana kept her focus on her arm and hand as she replied.
I did something that his brothers should have done a long time ago. Placed a barrier on his mind.
What? I furrowed my eyebrows in confusion, not understanding what she meant. As Diana finally looked back at me, she let out a sigh at my expression.
He can read minds, but he can't control it. However, imagine putting a bubble around his thoughts. He wouldn't be able to hear anything but his own. This is precisely what I have done.
Then what was that energy you pulled from him?
That was something that shouldn't have been there. It's nothing to be concerned about. Right, Damien?
Again, I became more confused. However, I looked up to Damien to see him looking at Diana with almost a forced, thankful look. I could tell he was grateful for the assistance, but I could tell he was still angry with her.
However, that spell won't last forever. He'll need to maintain it using energy. But I'm sure you can provide that, correct?
I was lost, but I understood what she was saying, nodding in acknowledgement. What did you take from Damien? I wanted to know exactly what was going on. The confusion that was going throughout the day of Damien's well-being was too much to ignore, and I needed to sort it out. If not for him, then for my own sanity. Danny gave me a firm look, crossing her arms.
A little piece of the demon lord that has been haunting him. Happy?
What? Diana shook her head and let out a sigh.
He can explain if you're that curious.
Diana then turned on her heel and walked towards the door. Before she left, however, she turned back and looked at Damien.
Be careful how much you feed. You've been without energy for too long. You'll be craving soon.
Aww. With those haunting words, Diana finally left the room as Damien laid his head on mine. He let out a tired sigh, and I looked up at him, lost as ever. Just from his expression, I could tell he was just beyond relieved to be out of whatever torture the mind reading had forced upon him. It was something he never wanted, and yet he had to endure it for the day until Diana blocked his mind. Why didn't she do it before was beyond me, but at least he was okay now. The more I thought of it, the more a part of me began to question this situation. If Damien could block out his mind reading, then it would be possible for him to want to be a demon again. As a demon, he had many interesting abilities. Then again, it was his decision. And from what he had told me then about his past, he didn't wish to relive any of it with the skin he was born in. I let the inner conflict wane as I cupped Damien's cheek, feeling him nuzzle into it. Right now, Damien needed some tender loving care, and I needed to provide it. Are you okay?
I am now.
I could hear the ease drip from his voice, making me smile. He was okay now. I slowly climbed into bed with him and wrapped my arms around his body, feeling him cuddle into my embrace and let out a hum of joy at the feeling. It was cute to see him like this, but then again, he was cute to begin with. Aww. Another reason why I loved him. I ran my hands slowly through his hair and as I let him settle down from the ordeal he went through. I could tell he was exhausted, just like how I was. However, he began to speak, making me awaken enough to pay attention to him.
I've been having nightmares, too.
You have? I looked down at Damien as he nodded and looked up at me. The dark circles under his eyes were much more prominent the closer I was to him, making me frown a bit at the sight. Still, he continued.
Some sort of shadow kept visiting me and taunting me for my choices. It would change shape every time, and just now, it only helped in making my mind-reading abilities worse.
Damien. I gave Damien a small squeeze, making him lean up and kiss my cheek before nuzzling his head into my shoulders, continuing.
I didn't want to worry you with it because I thought it was a side effect to becoming human. But I guess it was right. I was always a demon.
Oh, Jonah, you really put emotion into this. I frowned even further and nuzzled his head gently. It's gone now, right? There's nothing you need to worry about anymore.
I know.
Damien and I held onto each other, both settled into the situation we were under. This was a large step for us, and we had to somehow deal with this, most likely after we returned to the demon world. Would Damien get used to being a demon once again, or will he demand to try and become human once more? I couldn't say for sure. The exhaustion that plagued us took over at last, driving us to sleep within each other's arms. I half expected the night to be uneventful, but my thoughts began to plague me, trying to disassemble all my discoveries and everything that happened to us in my subconscious. We were in the demon world, and Damien was back to being a demon, despite the fact that he never actually became human in the first place, even though Diana said that she had done it. Dizzying cycle of confusion waved around each thought, making them spin as I tried to organize and dissect them.
There's no use in trying, dear. You'll only become more confused in the end.
Diana's voice rang out in the air, causing me to look around in surprise at the dark. Diana?
Keep telling yourself that, dear. Whatever helps you sleep.
I spun around the space, trying to pin down where her voice was coming from, but saw nothing but the black cover of my imageless dream greet me as I did. Still, Diana's voice rang out to me loud and clear, as if she were there watching and speaking to me somewhere nearby. Was this only meant to confuse me more? What do you want?
What do you think, dear? I'm here to haunt you and tell you how your life is a complete mess now that Damien is back to being a demon. Oh, wait. He was never human in the first place.
I sneered at the dark, unbelieving what I was hearing. He might as well have been. He didn't have magic or mind reading or anything, so he was close enough.
Something tells me that you're actually happy about the turn of events, no?
What?
Think about it. Damien with his powers. He's not a boring human. He can enthrall you and use magic and protect you forever and ever without worrying about human trivialities.
I took a moment to myself, taking in what the voice proclaimed in Diana's voice. While it was true that Damien and I accepted his humanity, a part of me was rather excited to see him as demon again. Maybe it was nostalgia of meeting him as demon, or maybe it was because it was a part of him I loved that made me happy. I couldn't tell. At my silence, the voice in the air chuckled deeply.
See? There's nothing wrong with a little demon power. What was Damien thinking?
At that moment, my mind began to cloud with agreement. What was Damien thinking? Why desire to be a human? Humans were weaker than demons, and he could do so many things now that he had a barrier around his mind reading. He didn't have to give up his powers now, and everything would be completely okay. The voice disappeared, leaving the thought of Damien engraved in my dreams. He ran through my mind as the night passed to morning the next day. I woke to Damien still in my arms. While the grogginess of the morning overtook my body and made me feel like going back to sleep, something about Damien in my arms made me keep my eyes open. He seemed at peace, finally having some shut-eye and getting proper rest. I felt a wave of happiness run through me, but at the same time, I couldn't help but remember the voice in my dreams. Damien was a demon. I ran my fingers through Damien's hair, becoming lost in thought once again. Was I being selfish, or was I just being positive? Damien seemed to only hate his mind reading, and that was taken care of. At the same time, a wave of reality washed over my moral compass. Damien had to be the one to decide. It was his body, and he was the one ultimately living in it. But was it even possible to become human? The question crossed my mind and settled in as I stared at the far wall. Would Damien even have a choice? Well, if there was no choice in the matter, then Damien was set to live a happier life with his mind-reading ability under a barrier. I just have to give him energy, which didn't seem to be a big deal. As Damien nuzzled my shoulder in his sleep, I looked down at him and smiled. Yeah, it was okay. I rubbed my eyes, but stopped as I managed to spot Diana in the doorway, holding 2 plates of food and leaning against the door frame. The food looked delicious, but the intrusion was out of place. Diana? Diana placed a finger to her lips before walking over and gently placing the food she brought onto the table near the bed, being careful not to make noise. Damien seemed to cuddle closer, despite obviously smelling the food by the wiggle of his nose. Aw, he's such a cutie. I can't help but smile and nod to Diana, combing my fingers through Damien's hair, as Diana crossed her arms and watched, lowering her voice to barely above a whisper to speak to me.
You seem to be in a good mood.
I nodded, looking up at the succubus as I gently gave Damien a squeeze. Yeah, Damien got some sleep, which is what he needed. I took a moment to look down at Damien's sleeping face, seeing how innocent and peaceful it was. The dark circles on his eyes seemed to have vanished, causing another relaxed wave to wash over me.
Have you given him any energy?
I shook my head, not remembering at all giving him energy. Whether he took energy in or sleep was something I wouldn't be unaware of, so I could only assume that he had not taken any from me at all. Diana pressed her lips together before looking to Damien.
You'll need to feed him energy soon.
I know. Diana nodded in reply before turning on her heel and walking toward the door. Before she crossed the threshold, however, she looked back at me over her shoulder.
I'm curious about something.
Huh? What is it? For a moment, hesitation took over Diana's expression before she settled into her curiosity and asked,
What are your thoughts about him being a demon once again?
I stared at Diana, seeing the curiosity burn in her eyes. My grip slightly tightened around Damien as I let my thoughts try and construct an answer. At the same time, I wasn't entirely 100% myself. He wants to be human. That's what you have to do, apparently. At the end of the day, Damien desired to be human above anything else. He made it clear when we met, and I wanted to respect his decision. Hell, I fell in love with him even as he became human. He and I were closer that way. Diana stared at me for a moment before nodding in acknowledgement and leaving the room, closing the door behind her. That was an interesting interaction. Looking down in Damien's sleeping form, he had turned his head in his sleep, so I could only see the top of his orange head. I smiled slightly and kissed the top of his head, causing him to stir a bit more in my arms. At the end of it all, what I wanted what was best for us, and that was something we had to deal with together. Whether or not this ended with him being human or not was up in the air, but for now, I had the responsibility of caring for him. Damien gently squeezed my form, allowing me to take in that he was awake now, and looked up at me with the tired eyes.
Good morning.
I couldn't help but smile at his expression. He was an early bird, but the rare occasion where I caught him more entranced in sleep than me were moments I found so adorable. Good morning, sleepyhead. Damien blushed a bit before crawling up a bit and kissing me sweetly. I smiled wider against his lips and wrapped my arms around him, melting into the kiss lovingly. It had been years since I felt an incubus's energy drain, so to feel my energy snake over my nerves and into my lips felt odd. I had to get used to it again for now, and I tightened my arms around Damien to keep from pulling away from the slight surprise it brought me. As we slowly pulled away, I could see a tint of gold rush through Damien's eyes as he looked down at me and licked his lips. A red tint brushed over my cheeks. Was my energy that delicious? What did it even taste like? Before I could ask, however, Damien sat up and stretched his arms over his head, letting out a small yawn trickle from his throat. When he relaxed, he looked towards the table, seeing the food Diana brought us.
Oh, wow. Did you make that?
No, I'd burn down the entire castle. I looked over before shaking my head. Diana came in and delivered it to us. Damien reserved the plates for a bit as he listened to me before rolling out of bed and going over to the table and lifting the plates off of them. As he turned back to me, I took the time to sit up in bed, leaning against the bedpost. Damien passed a plate to me and sat beside me, placing his own plate on his lap and eating what was prepared for us. I, however, watched for a moment, wondering what was going on in his head. What did he think about this whole thing? He seemed to be in better shape than he was before, which was good. Was he easily adjusting back to being a demon? A part of me felt a little happy at the idea, while the other part of me tried to be realistic. This was temporary, maybe. Just like it's temporary that I'm gonna leave it here. Remember to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye!